And so anybody who's listening on here can also listen on Facebook. And it's a great, great pleasure to be with you here on both. Let's see here. Here we go. So it's kind of fun. We're on due to the radio show. It's the leading radio station in Las Vegas, but also simultaneously we're going on to Facebook, and I've started also posting these on YouTube. So all you have to do, if you ever want to watch it later, you can go to YouTube and just type in Sidell and then the word Gateway, Gateway, and guess what? You can listen to these recordings anytime. So if you find value in it, then tune into the show at a different time, and you know what? You can enjoy it, and it will make a difference to you. You know, I know people are listening, because somebody called me last week listening to my show online. Hey, Debbie, how you doing? And they value the message, and she's very sweet, and I actually know this person, and she was having some problems with one of her kids and was asking me for advice because she just spent time listening to my show. And I'm not trying to claim, by the way, that my show is a panacea, an instant answer for things, because for all of us, this life is a constant journey of growth and learning and love. And yet I do know that it can be a healing opportunity for all of us. And that's really what this show's about, a chance for us all to heal and become healthier and happier. Here, I'm putting on a little background music too. You know, it's a great, great pleasure to be able to join in with you on a weekly basis. And those of you tuning in right now, each of you makes a difference to me. You know, there's a lot of, I'm 100% convinced we're in a divine and magical world. It's limitless in its potential to grow and evolve and become something new. And so for each of us, the opportunity is, how are you going to weave your destiny? And I heard a beautiful saying this week. Let's see if I can find it. The saying is, don't create your future out of your past. Create your future from your future. Oh, thanks, Leroy, for saying that. I appreciate it. Leroy saying, my time here helps so many of us, especially me, meaning Leroy. Thank you for saying that, Leroy. You know, it's a funny thing about doing something online like this. You never really know. Well, sometimes you do know because people tell you, but a lot of times you don't really know what difference you're making. And so it's kind of like you're putting something out and you hope that it makes a difference. But so it's nice when you can get some feedback that people let you know. But I hear just enough that I'm comfortable, but I'm comfortable that we are making a difference here on this show. And I say we because you know what? You are too. When you listen to this show and you tune into it, you're helping co-create kind of a divine and healing force field, for lack of a better way to put it. And when you do that, then that helps heal other people, lift them up, even when they're listening to a recording later on, because the grace and the love and the energy is actually stored right in the very process. So just a little bit about my background, for those of you that might be new. I've been a practicing attorney now for 47 years. It's really almost unbelievable for me to be able to say that to you. For 47 years, I've been practicing law. And I've also been an ordained minister for over 40 years. Actually, I'm trying to think how long. We'll just say, right now, I'll say over 40. And I've also been a motivational speaker, author, and teacher of seminars. And I've taught prosperity seminars for many years. I haven't taught any for the last couple of years. And I know I was talking about maybe doing that, and I still think I should. But life is I love to learn, I love to grow, and I know that the best is yet in front of us, all of us, including each of you. No matter what you've encountered in your life. By the way, one of the beautiful teachings of Christianity, and I do accept Christ and his grace and his love and his healing and his salvation, for that matter. Whatever he has to offer, I accept it. But one of the great teachings of Christianity is that no matter what mistakes you think you've made in your past, what errors you think you've made, what sins you think you've created or done, it is not too late for you. And there's not a lot of teachings in the world like that, if any. And so wherever you are in your life right now, my friends, I encourage you to open yourself to the idea that wherever you are, whatever has happened in your life, you can have your best days in front of you. I've been in times in my life, which fortunately have been a while behind me now, that I didn't see any way forward for me. I was depressed, discouraged, down and out, feeling like I didn't know how to go forward, and kind of a feeling of desperation. I don't know if any of you ever felt that. I would love to think none of you have ever felt that, but the truth is I know some of you have, if not maybe almost everybody once or twice in their life anyway. And my theory is I'd love to see people grow in love, and I even talk about this in my book, The Gateway. There's two ways to learn in life. There's the easy way and the hard way. And all of us do a little bit of both. The easy way is listen to somebody else, read a book, and learn from their experiences and avoid some of the pitfalls that person is talking about. That's the easy way. And that's why, by the way, that's why I wrote this book, The Gateway. And right there. It's designed to help you more easily grow forth without having to go through all sorts of suffering and problems. The hard way to learn, which is also something that we all do, is we make mistakes, we encounter reversals, and then it requires us to become something greater than what we were before just to go forward. And yes, unfortunately, maybe it's fortunate, I can't say if it's unfortunate or not, but that is also a big way of learning, and yes, certainly been a big way for learning for me. So yes, in my own life, I have faced dark times where I didn't know my way forward. It seemed kind of hopeless and discouraged, and not just that, I mean, worse than what I'm really saying right now. But the bottom line is not knowing at all how I was going to go forward, feeling like my future was over. And yet somehow in the midst of all that, through faith and continuing to pray and never giving up, I've gone forward, and actually this is a true and genuine miracle. Since that time, my life's better than it's ever was before. Much better. So there's a saying, if you're really discouraged, if you're facing even suicidal thoughts, I want to say something to you. There's a saying that I like. You know, even if you think there's no way forward for you, there's no future, just keep in mind this one thing. You never know the difference a day can make. And I'll give you an example. You know, in other words, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There could be a breakthrough. It could be a possibility for you. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. A biblical example. So Judas, we all know the story. Judas, for 50 marks of silver or 50 pieces of silver, turned Jesus over to the authorities, and then that led to Jesus' crucifixion. Now, here's the thing. Before Jesus was resurrected, and I do believe he was resurrected, I have bunches of reasons for that. Even if you weren't a Christian, I think there's lots and lots of evidence. Hey, Andy, nice to see you on there. Before he was resurrected, Judas suddenly thought to himself, oh, wow, I screwed up. And he felt grief and loss, and he thought, maybe he never thought that was going to happen to Jesus. You know, who knows what he was thinking? We didn't have him around to get to hear what he thought. But he went out and hung himself and committed suicide. And that was in the day between Jesus was crucified and the next day Jesus was resurrected. Now, just a good story to remember in your life. Had he stuck around one more day, he would have discovered Jesus was resurrected. And even though what he did may have been bad, may have been wrong, may have hurt Jesus, still God healed it. And so Judas too could have been healed. So we have to so that one day, if he'd waited one day before ending his life, he would have discovered there was going to be a breakthrough that he never expected. And that was that Jesus was resurrected. So for each of us, no matter what you're facing in your life, it could be the best of days or it could be a difficult day. Just trust that there's something good coming to you around the corner. Let's see. So Leroy say, I know many folks are facing bad things in their lives which can lead to those thoughts, especially those suffering from PTSD. Absolutely true, Leroy. And I understand. And sometimes for those of you listening, I want to say something to you. If you're in a dark place and you don't know any way out, one of the miracles of our age is there is modern psychiatric medicine. And modern psychiatric medicine, meaning antidepressants and other things too, can help pull you out of those dark states and give yourself time to heal. And that's often what the missing ingredient for people in life. And so if you know somebody in that kind of situation, by the way, if you ever know somebody, I know various different people. In fact, I just met somebody new this very week who's a psychiatric nurse practitioner, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, I like to network, and I met this new guy, and it's kind of interesting. But it's also an exciting time, I might add, while I'm on this topic. There's a lot of new developments happening in the whole field of consciousness. There's a lot of things that make people mentally better. You could change your diet. It turns out that keto diet cures a lot of mental disorders. And there's a lot of people that a keto diet can really truly make dramatic improvements in your state of mind. Okay, that's one thing. There's also, like I say, there's all the modern antidepressants and other kinds of medicines too that have been developed over the last 30 years, which are all very new. And so there's all those medicines. And now it's very exciting. I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see new things that are possible that aren't even present today. There's whole new studies coming out related to, things like ketamine. Ketamine is, I talked recently to a nurse practitioner also about ketamine. A lot of people are finding that very, very healing. And that's a new thing you can legally get as part of a treatment if you're suffering from ongoing depression. I'm always researching these things all the time. And I watched this one lady, for example, on YouTube, literally show a little clip of her 1 week at a time over the course of a year, starting on ketamine. And in the beginning, she couldn't even change her sweater. Oh, we're going to go to a break. This is Robert Sidell. You're listening to the Gateway Show, but I'll keep visiting with all of you on Facebook. And those of you on the radio, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. This is Robert Sidell. It's the Gateway Show. Great pleasure to be with you. So, my friends, this lady was quite interesting. She was somebody who had been in depression. She said she couldn't even change her sweater. And you wouldn't have necessarily guessed that looking at the first video, but she said, see that sweater? I couldn't really even change that. So, we can get caught in those kind of dark places. And so she started on ketamine treatment, and you go in for a series of, what you call them, infusions over the course of maybe 4 to 6 weeks or something. And then you still have to go back on somewhat of a regular basis. But anyway, it was very fascinating to watch her on the video. Because it wasn't like overnight, but every week she looked a little bit better. And pretty soon she was looking pretty and she was wearing makeup and it was really kind of an amazing experience. It was like you couldn't even believe it. It's like she didn't seem like the same person. And so, as a matter of fact, I watched it and she herself said that it wasn't like the same person. So the bottom line is that here she was in a very dark place in her life, gets onto ketamine. Yeah, Leroy said, yeah, he's commenting. Yes, I think, I talked to this a physician's assistant psychiatrist, a psychiatrist physician assistant, and she said she had a number of patients, quite a few in the last year have gone for ketamine treatment, and she says every one of them felt it was quite beneficial. She didn't have a single person say it wasn't, which, by the way, in the world of medicines for mental treatment is kind of unusual. A lot of people try things and it's really not good for them at all. So that's just one example. There's other things. I have a client of mine who has used microdoses of mushrooms, and I've watched whole specials on TV about that too. Now there's psilocybin, which I believe comes from mushrooms. Gosh, don't quote me on exactly that. But the bottom line is, some of these different things, and I can't say I'm advocating mushrooms or any of this stuff, but I'm just telling you about them. These are things, and even, believe it or not, even LSD, which was around in the quite popular in the 50s and 60s, and then finally was put on made illegal except for some experimental research. Some people are finding that very healing. I saw a whole special on Netflix about that. And so now, obviously, any of these things, if you ever found some way to be able to take them, you need to do it under the care of a psychiatrist. Otherwise, you could get yourself into some kind of trouble. Now, I'm not talking about legal trouble. I'm talking about mental trouble. So the bottom line is that there's a lot of things opening up for people. And I think you're going to see all sorts of new possibilities that were not even around before. I'll tell you another one that's on the radio is MDMA, what was called ecstasy and popular in the 80s. That's now, doctors are now working on making that legal because it's, hold on, we're going to be back on the radio in just a second. Good evening, my friends. This is Robert Sidell. Great pleasure to be here with you tonight and on the leading talk station in Las Vegas. My friend Leroy is saying psilocybin comes from the mushroom. For those of you on the radio, I was just talking a little bit I started out by saying that, you could be, yeah. And my friend Andy is posting that intense prayer and comedy movies can change your state of mind too. Yeah, there's quite a lot of evidence for all that. Well, I'm one of those people, and Andy knows this about me, and most of you listening that if you've listened to me before know, I live on prayer. I mean, I pray every day. In the New Testament, Paul, one of the leading disciples of Christ, although ironically, little side note for you, that a lot of people sometimes forget or never knew, Paul never physically met Jesus. Isn't that interesting? When Jesus was crucified and resurrected, Paul, at the time, first was one of the people going out working on persecuting Christians. And so he was out carrying out his business of persecution, and he's on the road to Damascus to go do more persecution, or whatever word you wanted to call it. And he gets suddenly, there's a visit. Here's a voice from God. God, what are you doing to my people? So, there's a whole thing, you read about it in the Bible. And he literally is knocked off of his horse, falls to the ground, and in that moment, his life changed forever. And I mean forever, to the end of his existence. And that went on for decades. And he became the leading proponent of Christianity to many, many different groups of people that the original disciples probably never would have even shared it with other people. They did not think, Peter and the original disciples, John, Mark, Matthew, Luke, they did not think that Jesus' teachings were to be taught to non-Jews. They thought it was supposed to be limited to Jewish people. And even Jesus said certain remarks like that in the New Testament. He says, my work is for the Jews. And so the bottom line is, then this guy Paul comes along, and who's also Jewish, has this epiphany experience. By the way, when he falls off the horse, here's another little note for you so you can sound erudite and learned to people if you ever want to. You may not want to ever. But the word epiphany, which means a sudden change of state of mind. Hey, Robert, good to see you. The word P-I in epiphany is from the word Paul's name. So the word epiphany is literally derived from Paul's experience of his experience of sudden change that happened on the road to Damascus. That's literally where the word epiphany comes from. So Paul had an epiphany experience, again, the word being based on his own experience, where his life changed in an instant, and he went out and shared it with lots of people. And the reason why I got onto the topic of Paul is because Paul said you should pray unceasingly. Now, I'm one of those people that actually does that. I kind of live on prayer. That's kind of my food source, one of my food sources, and my spiritual food source. And I couldn't really live without it. And, I just recently saw a friend of mine who's been going through a difficult time. And in some ways, she has problems with one of her children. And it's not the person I was talking about earlier. So I said, well, do you pray very often? To be honest, I already knew the answer. And I'll tell you how I knew the answer. But before I'm going to tell you, her answer was no. I almost never pray. Here's what I want to say to you. I have learned, and this goes back decades now, that when people pray, you can tell. Because it's like they're plugging in. There starts to be kind of a radiance that comes to them. My friend Robert knows about that. He's back in D.C. He knows what I'm talking about. And the thing is, if you're not praying in your own unique way, then you're not taking advantage of that connection. You're like a lamp that's sitting there, a beautiful lamp, but the lamp is not plugged in and it's not radiating any light. And you wonder, what's wrong with my lamp? Well, you never plugged it in. Leroy saying he never knew about the relationship between Paul's name and Epiphany. I know, I told you, Paul. I told you, Leroy. A little bit of trivia that, it's kind of fun. It just helps illustrate the point. But my friends that are listening, each one of us can go through dark times. And each one of us can face what appears to be reversals that we don't know how to overcome. And so tonight's show is about how to resurrect and rejuvenate your life. I saw a picture of an old car, an old Duesenberg, I think it was, that was somebody found in their barn. And this thing looked like an old car that had degenerated over many years. You've probably seen cars like that before. And then they had a picture below of it after it was restored. And it looked incredible. I started thinking, how come we don't think about doing that about ourselves? I really like to restore things. I'll tell you something about my life. Keep track of the time here for a second. Okay. ever since when I was like 16 years old, I had a bicycle, back a 10 gear speed bicycle. I mean, that was a popular kind of bicycle back then. Still is, although they have more gears even now than then. And I thought, well, I want to fix this. So I took it all apart, all the way down to the frame, sanded it, and then repainted it in cherry metallic red and put it all back together again. And then I rode that for a while. Maybe I was even 14 when I did that. And then when I was 16 years old, I got my first used car, which was an old car of our family's, an old station wagon. And so I got that all restored. And I went to, this will date me here. And some of you that are older might actually remember this. There was a guy named Earl Scheib. He may still be around. I think they still might be in business. But back then, they would paint any car for $29.99. This is honest to God truth. Andy probably remembers that. I think you probably do, Andy. But so for $29.99, you could get a car painted. So that's honest to God truth. Now, I'll tell you, when you got your car back, it usually had overspray on the windows and everything else. But so I got this old station wagon painted, and I drove this station wagon for a couple of years. Then I had a chance to buy my grandmother's old 56 Chevy. Now, I wish I'd kept the 56 Chevy, because those are worth a lot of money now. But what I did was I got that car completely restored also. And I got it repainted, and a little more money this time around. And then I drove it to Tijuana, Mexico. And, you go across the border, and there's all these people waving, hey, come here, come here. Anyway, so I went and had all the interior upholstery redone. And that was like $49 or something for a day. Oh yeah, Leroy says he remembers Earl Scheib. Yeah, yep, I knew. I had a feeling you'd remember Leroy. So I went to Tijuana, got the whole car, diamond tuck done, beautiful black inside, new headliner in the car, and then I went and got another. Oh, he never. Andy says never got his car repainted, never washed it either. That's funny, or seldom washed it. So then I got a new steering wheel, new interior, repainted the car. I fixed that car up from the bottom to the top. I got new wheels and tires on it, and it was got a new muffler on it, all these things. The reason why I'm telling you these things, it's fun to fix things up. It's fun to make things nicer and better and more beautiful, and it's inspiring. And I still remember that car. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, if I could have been like Jay Leno and had a huge garage or something, keep some of the cars I had. Some of them were very valuable, because I actually restored several cars since that time, including a Jaguar XKE. But I got to tell you, first, before that, the next car I restored, I went to a telephone company auction and bought an old telephone company van, like in 1970. And I got an old Ford Falcon that was like 62 or something, Ford Falcon van, and with the Econoline van. And so I had to take it all apart, get everything out of there, all their old equipment out of there, get rid of that. And then I literally redid the whole interior, put paneling into it, put a skylight into it, put insulation into it, put floorboards into it, put carpeting into it, put a separation from the front to back with curtains, everything you could imagine. I mean, you could have lived in this easily. And so people do live in those now. And it was fantastic. And I got new wheels on it and everything. It was one of the most fun accomplishments I ever had in my life. So in my life, I have had a lot of pleasure in restoring things. And I look at my life since then. Actually, I've had one restoration after another, in all honesty. It's gone on and on and on, whether it's houses, office buildings, cars. And restoring things is a way of taking something and make it more beautiful. Well, so I'm going to encourage each of you. What are you doing to restore yourself? If we can restore old cars and make them like new, what about us? What are we doing? Are we exercising? I've been going to a gym almost every day lately during the week, and getting good aerobic exercise, lifting weights, and I feel better than I felt for probably 10 or 15 years. And so I want to encourage each of you to think, where are you at in your life? You've got the gift of life. The spark of life is alive in you. And why not try to restore your greatest and highest good? And just sort of surrender to the idea of getting old. Nothing's wrong with getting old. We all get old, and that's a gift, because I've had two brothers that died when they were younger, and you know what? It's a gift to be older. And it's also a gift to even look older, because that means you lived long enough to look older. But no matter where you're at in your life, I bet you there's a lot of things you could do to make yourself physically feel better, look better, healthier. And if you get excited about that possibility, we live in a time when it's more possible than ever before in human history here's one little improvement I did myself. I've talked about it before. It's literally almost 4 years ago now. I had my cataracts taken out, and they weren't even really that bad, but they qualified to get them out. And I got them taken out and replaced with lenses in my eyes that had 6 levels of focus. Sounds kind of funny, but the bottom line is I don't have to wear glasses at all anymore. And I don't have to wear reading glasses. I don't have to wear any kind of glasses anymore. So I upgraded myself. How about that? That's kind of amazing, isn't it? I literally upgraded myself that way. And there's a lot of ways we can upgrade ourselves. I mean, there's all sorts of things. We live in an amazing time. We can upgrade ourselves in all sorts of ways. You don't have to surrender to total degeneration. You don't have to. So I'm inviting each one of you to open yourself to the idea that tonight you can believe in a wonderful future. Create your future from your future, not from your past. This is Robert Sidell. You're listening to The Gateway Show on live every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. I will stay with you on Facebook, and on those on the radio, we'll be back in just a moment. This is Robert Sidell. You know, most of us, my friends, try to figure out the future based on our past, which makes sense, right? What else would we look to, right? Makes sense. But what about if your future could be so much better that it's not even tied to your past? Then you'd really be free, wouldn't you? So I'm going to encourage each one of you to think to yourself for a moment. What if you, instead of just recycling old past beliefs, ideas, and stories, instead dared to dream whole new possibilities for life? Maybe it's a better way to run your business. Maybe it's a better way. There's always a better way to do everything and anything. Maybe it's a better way to exercise. Maybe it's new kinds of vitamins and nutrients. It's funny. I was at Costco yesterday. This is your story for you, Andy. He likes my Costco stories. And if you ever want to know the trendy new supplements, just go to their supplement section. And there they are. Because whatever is highly selling, they usually have some of it in stock. And there's all sorts of things. You can see what people are working on and what they think are good ideas. And some may be good, some may not be good. Some may be useful, some may not be. There you go. As your soul prospers, so will you. That's right, by the way. Talk about a prosperity principle, Andy. If you're happy inside yourself, if you're sleeping well, by the way, one of the best things you can do to make yourself healthier and happier is sleep well. Give yourself enough time to sleep. And sleep deeply. Learn how to dream well. Let your dreams lift up your life. And by the way, something you can do when you're sleeping to make yourself sleep better is when you go to sleep, when you lie down in bed at night, say something along these lines. I talk about this in my book, The Gateway. Here it is. The Gateway. If you don't have a copy of this, I've made it very easy for you, and you can get that on Amazon.com, or you can come by my office to get a free copy if you're here in Las Vegas. So before I fall asleep at night, I say things like this. I need to remember to say this after the break too. I say something like, when you wake up, you'll wake up rejuvenated, filled with energy and aliveness and joy. You'll be filled with happiness and strength and good health. Say something like that as you're falling asleep. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, you're falling back asleep again, say the same thing. When I wake up, I will feel illumined. Illumined is probably the best word. I will feel charged up, revitalized, rested, and restored. Doesn't that sound good? You could say things like that to yourself every single night. Why not? Isn't that really the opportunity of this life, is you and I trying to learn how to get the best and the most out of life? Isn't that what we want? Is there any of you that doesn't want the most out of your life? That's what this show's for people who want the most out of their lives. Here we are going back. Good evening, my friends. It's Robert Sidell. Great pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday evening. By the way, I've got on the Gateway Show live 6 to 7 p.m. every week. By the way, next time I talk to you next Sunday, I will have had another adventure in addition to the usual adventures that every day brings. I'm going to go down to Mexico City. I'm going to have a chance. This is going to be a fun adventure for me. I'm going to have a chance to meet some neat people. I'm going to meet Miss Mexico. I've got all sorts of exciting things that are going to be happening. And, you know, one of the principles in my book, The Gateway, is, and everything I do is kind of in that book, you know, it's the say yes principle. And this is an opportunity given me by one of my friends who teaches certain kinds of seminars. And I've done a couple of his seminars before, and he gave me opportunities. He set me up with a chance to speak at Harvard. So I've spoken at Harvard. I've spoken at Carnegie Hall. I've done a lot of interesting things that are very unusual. I've been backstage at Carnegie Hall. That's a pretty neat experience. I mean, you know, I feel very grateful for these opportunities. So I'm getting a chance to go down to Mexico City. And, you know, I haven't been to Mexico. I lived in Mexico City as a teenager. This is when I was 16 years old over the summer, and learned quite a bit of Spanish. And so this is going to be a fun chance for me to go back to Mexico City and practice my Spanish. I'm going there with my son, meet a lot of fun people, and that'll be the whole week. And I'll be back. I'm flying back Sunday, and I'll be back in time to do the radio show next Sunday night. But see, life is an adventure, but it's up to you and I. Why am I going down there? Because I figure it's a chance to expand my life, to meet new people, to practice my Spanish. I'll get some direct immersion in Spanish, practice it, walk around the streets and talking. Leroy, yeah. Oh, is that right? That's fun. Leroy says he used to work down there. It's a fantastic city. I like Mexico City. Look, Mexico, like every country, has, you know, some great gifts and challenges too. I mean, every place does, and we have them in our country, for God's sake, too. I mean, it's just the truth. And some of these countries down there are doing better than everybody. We'll talk about that at a different time. You have to study some of these different countries, the things they're trying out. But the bottom line is that I'm taking advantage. I said yes to an opportunity. And I'm going with my son, so it'll be good quality time with my son. I'll get a chance to meet a lot of neat people, and a chance to meet Miss Mexico and interview. In fact, I'm going to get a chance to interview her. And it's just going to be fun. I mean, it's just a fun thing. It will be fun and expand my life and make me more qualified in a lot of different areas, practice my Spanish. So, like, you know what? And I just today signed up for another seminar. A good friend of mine who is a former NFL player, teaches seminars on public speaking, and I'm going to go to one of those in about 2 months. And so I like to keep stimulating my mind. As a matter of fact, I also try to participate in a lot of events that Tony Robbins does, because Tony Robbins is great about educating us and moving us forward. Here's the thing, my friends. You're in this thing called life, an experience that maybe none of us really fully understand. The question you got to decide, and I have to decide too. Do we want the most out of it? Do we want the best? Are we worthy of the best? Well, I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to answer one question for you tonight. In case you weren't sure, you're worthy of the best. You're worthy of the best God has for you, the very best. And you want to know something? The best isn't necessarily wealth. I think prosperity is a gift that God wants all people to have. But prosperity can be many different things for different people. It doesn't mean you're driving around in a Rolls Royce, but it may mean that you are prosperous in friends, you have a good home over your shoulders, and you have good food, and you have good friends and good relationships. That's a good, prosperous life. As a matter of fact, that's why we see sometimes even billionaires, some of them aren't really truly prosperous because they may not have happy lives. So on the other side, I'm not going to put down being a billionaire. You know, that's a trap, prosperity trap to watch out for. When I teach prosperity seminars, I mention this to people. You don't want to put down prosperous people, because all you're doing is affirming in your unconscious mind that prosperity is not a good thing. And you don't want to, you know, we could tell ourselves stories all the time. Oh, money isn't anything. It's people have money, they're unhappy, they're this or that. Well, if you start telling yourself stuff like that, for sure you're certainly not going to create it in your own life, are you? Now, so I always say prosperity is what you want, is the prosperous life that's right for you. But we do live in a divine and miraculous world. And if you want to restore your life, which is the theme of the show tonight, you have to begin to grasp and deeply absorb the idea that you are a miracle worker in a divine world. It may not seem like it sometimes, but Jesus talked a lot about that. read Mark 11:22-24, and where he says that whatever I did, you can do too, and even greater things, if you'll just believe and not doubt, and also if you'll ask God for these things and forgive everybody for whom you have a grudge, against whom you have a grudge. So you have to forgive and forgive and forgive, give gratitude for everything, believe and ask. And what are you not asking for? What could you ask for? The purpose of this show, as much as anything else, is to cultivate in you a resurgence of your own ability to dream, hope, and know that goodness is coming. That's the very purpose of this show, to recalibrate your own ability to believe in your dreams once again. I want you to think to yourself for a moment, when you were maybe 10 years old, or 12 years old, or 14 years old, or maybe 40 years old, what kind of dreams did you have in your life? What did you believe in? What could be possible? What were you thinking was possible? And what have you given up on? It's easy to give up on ideas. Really, it's easy for all of us, including me. I have to constantly, it's why I'm feeding my mind all the time. It's why I'm doing these shows. Of all the people that benefits from this show, I think I probably benefit the most, because I get to listen to the show I do, and I prepare for it. And secondarily, the second thing I want to tell you, your grace and your love, which is God's grace and love for me, comes to me through the show. So you are gifting me with your grace, your love, and your hope and your inspiration. You may not think you are, but you are. I testify to that before God, that you are blessing me in ways you don't even realize. And I also want to say this, the intention of this show is to bless you in ways you don't understand. So that even if you think it doesn't apply to you, even if you think maybe your case is hopeless, you think like this friend that called me last week that was listening to my show, and her son's having some problems, he's got some drug problems, and it's a common problem in this day and age, and she's scared for him, and so we tried to help her find an Alcoholics Anonymous group that she could go to, AA. There's lots of help here in town, so I found some phone numbers for her. There's lots of help for whatever you need. So just in case somebody's stuck, just remember several things. If you're really in a mental hole, don't be afraid. You can always call me out, so I can give you the names of some people. Don't be afraid to reach out and get some kind of modern medicinal help. Oh, thanks, Marie. I appreciate you saying that. She's very grateful for my time. Listen, any one of us can have discouraging moments. As a matter of fact, all of us have them sometimes. And it's normal part of being a human being. The main thing, though, is kind of like Muhammad Ali said once, and I love this quote from him. He says, there ain't nothing wrong with getting knocked down. Okay, so I've been knocked down, you've been knocked down. He says, what is wrong is not getting back up again. And so that's what we've got to do. Hey, Janelle. How you doing, Janelle? Keep expecting miracles, Janelle. So for each of us, we need to constantly keep rejuvenating our cultivating our mind and consciousness to believe in good things. Leroy's saying AA is fantastic. Narcanon is also good, but AA has always been a bulwark. Yeah, something, I'll tell you something interesting. My book, The Gateway, again, I'm just keep showing it to you here. If you don't have it, get a copy. It's online. You can get it on Amazon, or you can come to my office and get a free copy right here in Las Vegas. And you can find me anytime. Look up LasVegasAttorney.com. I'm a personal injury right here in town. You can always call me. By the way, you can always call me about anything. I've been, like I said, I've been practicing a long time. I like to give out free advice. It's just kind of how it works for me. And plant a lot of seeds. That's a prosperity principle, by the way. As you share abundantly, you will receive abundantly. It's when we become afraid to give out free advice and free things, then we start to dry up the well. Imagine for a moment that you have access to an infinite well, infinite consciousness, and infinite grace. Imagine for a moment that Jesus was right in saying that we have access to do the same things and even greater than him. None of us, I think, knows what that means exactly, but he put that out as a challenge to us. And I've always taken it seriously. And I believe he meant it. He meant that. And so I want you to know, I pray and ask that God's infinite love and blessings be made available to each and every one of you right now in your life as you are. First step one, recognize you are a divine worker in a divine and miraculous world. Number two, the best is yet to come. Cultivate your mind with consciousness. You have to be willing to do your part. That's what faith comes in. That's where Mark 11:22 is. You know, it's your faith, what you ask for. Are you asking? What are you asking for? You can't be like the little kid who came home one day and said, Dad, I failed my exam. The dad says, you got to be positive, son. Positive. You got to be positive. He says, Dad, I'm positive I failed. So that's not the kind of faith you want to have. You want to have faith that no, you can accomplish great things. You can accomplish good things. You are meant to succeed. God wants you to succeed. If I'm ever discouraged, and I can be discouraged about lots of things, in our world, I can look at news stories and become discouraged, as I'm sure some of you can too. It's very easy to feel very discouraged and think, hey, what are we creating here? But you know what? When I feel that kind of discouragement, I think of my parents, both of my parents, and they're saying, Robert, don't give up, believe in yourself, and don't let anybody talk you out of yourself. And that's what I want to. So I want to be that for you. Believe in Leroy. Believe in yourself. Jonelle, believe in yourself. Marie, believe in yourself. Each of you, believe in yourself. That's on here. Let's see. Leroy, Andy, all of you, believe in yourself. Robert, believe in yourself. Ernie, believe in yourselves. You got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, how can God work through you? Okay, this is Robert Sidell. We're going to a break. It's the Gateway Show on live every Sunday night, 6 to 7 p.m. We come back, we'll have Reverend Ernie here with us and sharing a great prayer. And I'll stick with you all on FaceTime and Facebook, and I'll be with you in just a second. Stay with me. We'll be back in a minute, right afterwards, with some great prayers and more good information before the show ends. My friends that are listening, it's such a wonderful life, and it's much more magical, much more divine than we ever imagined. But it's hard to believe that sometimes. But that's what we got to remember. Okay, let's see. I'm going to see if I can get Ernie on the line. Hold on a second here. All right, we'll see. Here he comes. Hey, Ernie, you there? All right, my friends that are still on Facebook. Let's just remember, keep our mind focused on the idea that we're sitting in a field of limitless possibilities, and the best is yet to come, but it's up to us. It's up to us. It's up to you and I. There's a saying I like. If it's going to be, it's up to me. Hey, Leroy's saying hi, Ernie.
Hi.
Oh, there, I hear you. That's good, Ernie. See that smile? That's good, Ernie. I like your smile.
Thank you, Robert.
So, wherever you are, my friends, cultivate your mind. Remember who you are. The best is yet to come. God wants to bless you and lift you up and turn your life into a miraculous journey. We have to dare to open ourselves to God's plan for us, each and every one of us. Right? We have to dare to open ourselves to that miraculous possibility. So my friends that are out there, we'll be back in just a minute. We'll be with Ernie on the radio too. But those of you who are listening, just dare to open yourself right now, how crazy or wild it might seem, that the very best and miraculous friendships, business opportunities, adventures, romance, in whatever way, even with your own spouse, it's waiting to come right now into your life. The God's waiting to pour abundance into your life, waiting to pour good things into your life. Dare to believe that right now. Dare to create your future from your future. Let your future find you. Here we go. We're coming back on the radio right now. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. Great pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday night. Actually, for me, as you might well guess, is a lot of fun. What happens is your love, your grace, those of you sharing with me, lifts my consciousness up, and it just keeps clicking, and then the divine possibilities keep opening up. And so tonight, I'm just sitting here thinking, yeah, what crazy things? That's the wrong word for it. What wonderful things could we cook up and bring into reality that could make our worlds, and the whole world 1,000 or 1,000,000 times better. Let's get out of stinking thinking and move into magical thinking, divine thinking that is open to the truest and greatest possibilities of God's thing. Not fantasy thinking, by the way, not fantasy thinking, but actually divine thinking, as the Bible and the great teachers would instruct us. So, having said that, here we are. Reverend Ernie, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, hi, Robert. Wonderful. Doing great. Thank you.
So you having, something, Ernie? I had a great day today. It was a nice kind of rainy, sort of misty day, and my wife and I just stayed home, and her mother came over, and she was doing some cooking, and so I had that fun kind of experience, just the smell of cooking food in a nice, warm, cozy house on a rainy day. I mean, it's funny on that level. I could say I don't think I could have had a better day on earth. That simple experience with family and loved ones, and my kids got together to play board games. So, what kind of better day can you have than that? And I think we think our life has to be extremely fancy and all these different things. But you know what? If we have loved ones in our lives, if we have good relationships, we're going to be happy. So,
That's
Reverend,
right.
so it's been, and you feel the same way?
Yes, I do.
Actually, I know
Thank
you
you,
do.
Robert.
I shouldn't say that. I know you do. All right, Reverend Ernie, why don't you share a prayer? Lay it on us tonight.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Well, the prayer's topic is you can be restored, renovated, and joy filled. Dear Lord, we're grateful and thankful for this blessed day. Thank you for granting us to look deep into our hearts and minds and bring out the love to share with each other. Guide us to be restored, renovated, and joy filled. Lord, we pray to let go of our earthly egos that are harmful to ourselves and to others. Let go of material attachments and selfishness. We pray that we go deep into our soul and bring out the Christ consciousness from within, which is love, joy, happiness, prosperity, kindness, compassion, and faith in God. Guide us to be revitalized in every walk of our lives, filled with joy, creating heaven on earth. And so it is. Amen.
Ernie, you always do, Reverend Ernie, you do a wonderful job of that. I just love to hear your prayers. And I know you're working on a book to put those all together. And you already have one book. And you know what?
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference, Ernie. Uh,
Yes.
I know, would you say you pray every day too?
Yes, meditate every day. You meditate. I meditate at the gym in the jacuzzi. No, I mean not jacuzzi. I mean in the sauna room for 20 minutes.
That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's fantastic, actually. Um,
Yes.
I just do here. It's that. As a matter of fact, when I go to the gym, I'm always listening to positive tapes the whole time. Recordings, actually, not.
Yes. Mhm. Yes.
Oh, okay. Uh, let's see here. Yeah, and Andy's saying, does that include when he goes to Costco? I don't know exactly what exactly you're referring to. What Andy's asking that. But anyway, I don't know what maybe I missed a point there. But but you know what? Wherever we are, we can. By the way, something I do when I walk through Costco and other places, I see people in all sorts of different states of consciousness. It seems like to me, and I'm always just mentally in my mind saying, "I send you love, send out peace," and uh, and so yeah, when you're in the gym and in the sauna, that's a great place to
Yes.
do that.
Yeah. Very quiet. It's very quiet. There are other people, other men and women. Just it's a co-ed in a co-ed sauna, so it's very quiet and nice. And whatever's happening, I tune it out and be and be very, very, with it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I like to sit in the steam room when I'm finished working out, and there's something very soothing about that. And lately, I don't know about maybe it's when I'm going that there's the room has had a fair number of people in there in the steam room. Sometimes I'm by myself, but this time lately, just lately, there's been more people. But I realize, but
Uh,
nobody's talking. We're all just kind of soaking up that heat and the steam, and it's actually,
yes.
especially in the middle of the winter, it's very nice to do that.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you listening, I mean, I know there are health clubs that are actually very, very inexpensive to belong to, right? Aren't there some that are like just real inexpensive, Ernie?
Yeah, it's a very relatively inexpensive. Like some of them are $10 a month. Believe me, not 10.
And you
Some
know,
of them.
I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? But I mean, if you
Yes.
can, and another thing is some health care plans, if somebody's on, depending on what your health care plan, some of them actually cover um,
Yes.
these clubs for free.
They do, and especially in Medicare, people that are in Medicare, they can sign up for free. A lot of these places they offer free membership of free workouts for those that are in Medicare. Yeah.
Right. So there's ways all of you can do this. It isn't, happens to be that Ernie has, he's got his setup. I have mine, but it doesn't really matter where you go. It's honoring your body. Get that blood flowing through your brain.
Right.
I've been working. I used to years ago. I kind of injured my knees. I actually went on a little too much on the treadmill, and kind of injured my knees for a while. So I didn't get much aerobic exercise for a long time, and because it always hurt my knees. And then going back to this gym, I found I can go on what's called a stairmaster, and somehow I can climb on the stairs, and it doesn't seem to hurt. It isn't hurting my knees. So for the first time in a long time, I've been getting steady aerobic exercise, which is good for my brain. Plus, my whole day I feel much better. And the other thing is, Ernie, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when I do weightlifting, whatever that resistance training is, it fills my body with positive energy and good feelings. So
Yes, it does.
all day long, I just feel really good after that.
Yes. Yeah. You sleep well too. You know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
no, I have been sleeping well. It's funny you mentioned that. I've been sleeping very well, and that really you'll stay much healthier if you can sleep well
Yes. Mhm.
and give yourself time to sleep well. It's
Oh,
important. Yeah, I
yes.
know, Ernie. You're right. Your wife told me you're a good sleeper.
Yeah, I got a gold. She said I'm a gold medal candidate for sleep.
Actually, it's probably why you look so young.
Thank you.
You're 78 now, right?
Yes, I'm 78. Yes,
Yeah, and
Robert.
you still don't have any. I'm still waiting for those wrinkles to show up on your face. Well, listen, we're almost out of time here, my friends. I just want you to know it's been a lot of fun being here with you. Next time I talk to you, next Sunday night, I'll been to Mexico City and back. I'll probably had a few tacos along the way, or actually probably. Well, I will have a few tacos. I'm pretty sure, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So each of you, I want you to know, Ernie and I pray for the best for you. Remember, God is real, miracles are real, and the best is yet to come. God bless you all. Have a fantastic week. This is Robert Sidell and Ernie.
Bye now, Robert.